Hey, this is so uncomfortable for me. I have to do a live video for my Holy Yoga Masters, and I'm practicing at home, and so you're probably going to hear my dogs barking. They're barking right now. I fed them right before this, hoping for the best, but you know. So anyway, I wanted to do my live video tonight because we're going into Easter weekend, and the Lord has just been speaking to me so much this week about my own sin and vulnerability and not being vulnerable, to be willing to acknowledge that I'm a sinner and that I need Him. And I've just realized this week that I don't like criticism, and I need Him to enter into that space with me to help me to grow, to know that criticism is okay, and that my sin, it's okay. He's forgiven me, and that I don't have to do anything about it myself aside from just keep loving Him, right? So I just decided that I'd do my video tonight, even though it's terrifying. So if you want to practice with me, I'm going to read right now from Matthew. And if you want to run, get your yoga mat, or if you want to just get down on the floor where you are, you can practice with me, and I'll just take you through the class like I would if you were actually with me here in the flesh. So anyway, reading from Matthew 26. So Jesus, in verse 30, when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "You will all fall away because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter answered him, "Though they all fall away because of you, I will never fall away." Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, "Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you." And all the disciples said the same. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "So could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." So I went tonight for the first time to walk a labyrinth, and I'd never done this before, and it was really beautiful in a way that I didn't expect. There were people all around because people were leaving church, and I don't like people to watch me pray, right? Which is weird because I'm a holy yoga teacher, and so I pray in front of people all the time. But my intimacy with Christ, I like it to just be private. And so going to a place where I was going to walk this labyrinth and have people see me doing this kind of weird thing, right? I was distracted, and I'm always distracted in meditation, just being honest. And so as I'm walking, like, what struck me was that the flesh is weak, right? But the spirit is willing, and I know this, and I'm not okay with it. But Jesus walks out, right, from praying the night before his crucifixion, and he sees his disciples, his best friends, whom he's asked to pray, and they're sleeping. They've just totally fallen down on the job, right? And instead of being angry, he acknowledges what he knows is true. He doesn't just harp on them for their flesh being weak. He acknowledges that the spirit is willing, and he knows that, but he also knows that our flesh is weak. And so obviously, if you know the story, you know that Peter does deny Jesus 3 times. And Then we're going to enter into Easter, right? We're going to enter into Good Friday tomorrow, and we know the story that Jesus is crucified, and then we go through Black Saturday, and then Sunday we celebrate the resurrection, right? And Jesus redeems all of that. But it's just so beautiful to me that Jesus acknowledges in that moment, like in his love for Peter, he acknowledges that he knows that Peter's spirit is willing, and he knows that Peter's flesh is weak. And so this practice tonight, I'm going to play an EP by Audrey Assad that is about death and resurrection. And it's about 6 songs, and I'll just lead a practice through the length of that album. It'll be about 22 minutes or so. And if you want to practice with me, please do. I'll cue you the same way I would in class. But it's going to be a really gentle practice of surrender, and I'm going to stay in these postures for a while. I'm dealing with my shoulder injury like I always am, and Jesus is just gently leading me to accept that my flesh is weak. And so I'm going to practice in a way that acknowledges that fact with him and admits that my spirit is willing. My flesh is really weak. And so I'm just going to take the postures that he leads me to take, and I'll guide you through them too if you want to do it with me. So I'm going to turn on the music and flip the camera around so that you can see my mat, and we'll get going. So just coming to an easy seat, one foot in front of the other. Start to roll your shoulders. Funny phone. And let's inhale and take our arms up overhead. Hands come through heart center. And again, inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. And then rolling through to your knees. Touch your big toes together. Sit back on your heels and lower down into child's pose. So let your breath be super deep here. Continue to breathe. Staying in child's pose. I'm gonna fix my phone. And just continue. Just continue in child's pose. Let your tailbone sink a little deeper towards your heels with every breath, especially on the exhale. Surrendering a little bit deeper. Letting your arms be soft. Bringing your hands under your shoulders, lift yourself up. Coming to all fours. Stacking your knees under your hips and your wrists under your shoulders. Drop your belly, lift your gaze, coming into cow pose. And then rounding your spine and dropping your head for cat. And we just go back and forth between these. Feeling the movement in the spine. Coming to a neutral spine. Let your big toes touch, knees come wide, drop your hips back, child's pose. Settling into your breath here. And then walking your arms over to the right, stretching through the left side body. Letting the left hip sink down towards the left heel. And the left fingers reach as far as they can. And then walking those arms off to the left, stretching through the right side body. Forehead rests toward the mat. Right fingertips reach. Right hip reaching for the right heel. And then coming back through center. Press yourself all the way up to kneeling. And sit back on your heels. Start to roll your shoulders again, palms just sitting gently on your thighs. Inhale, arms up. Interlace your fingers and press your palms towards the ceiling, opening up through the wrists. Gliding the ears back over the shoulders. Finding the alignment of the neck spine. Link all the way through the spine. Soften your belly as you breathe. And hands come through heart center. Close your eyes here and set your hands in your lap, palms one on top of the other, facing towards the sky. And just breathe, noticing the breath and maybe how it's changed since you started moving. And setting your hands behind you, lean back and let your knees lift up, opening through the fronts of the ankles. And then coming forward, tuck your toes under and sit back on your heels, bringing your hands to heart center. Opening through the feet. If this is intense, you can always set your hands down on the mat, coming off the feet just a little bit. Otherwise, just stay with hands at heart center and just breathe into the stretch of the feet. And come forward. Untuck the toes. Placing your weight on your hands and your knees. Draw your right knee through the center of your arms and sink down in between your legs. See how I'm doing for pigeon pose? So my right heel is reaching towards my left hip flexor. And then you can either stay here with your left leg out long behind you, or you can fold over And come to rest with your forehead on the mat, or you can put a block or a pillow under your forehead, or even your own hands or your fists. You can change the height of the way that you are reclined. So breathing deeply here in pigeon pose. On every breath, just see if you can release just a little bit more. And then placing your hands under your shoulders, lift yourself up. Tuck your back toes, so your left toe is, and lift up off the mat, drawing your right knee back, coming to all fours. Inhale, and lift the left knee through the center of the hands, lowering yourself down through the midline. Left heel reaching for the right hip, right leg extended behind you, lower down. Deepen your breath and release a little bit on every exhale. Set your hands under your shoulders and lift yourself up. And go ahead and take a seat and swing that right leg around. Legs come out in front of you. For Dandasana or staff pose, flex your toes and point and flex and point. Flex and point. Let your feet rest down. Reach your arms up. Inhale, exhale, bend your knees just a little bit and reach for your toes. And while you do this, you might not reach your toes, that's okay. You can reach for your shins or your calves or your ankles. But while you do this, the goal here is that you would reach your belly and your chest for your thighs. So I'm gonna show you. I don't have a lot of space. I struggle with leg flexibility. And so I bend my knees a lot, so that I can reach my chest toward my knees. The point, right, is not to look a certain way, but to be in the proper alignment for your body. And so if you need to modify, please always modify. Remember, the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. And my flesh is weak. And this is some of that weakness. And that's beautiful because that's where Jesus meets me, right? So we just breathe. Release the feet and start to roll up one vertebra at a time. Roll your shoulders back. Face you again. Close your eyes Bring your hands to heart center and just breathe. Release your hands, open your eyes. Lift your right knee and stack the outside edge of the right foot around the left thigh. If this is comfortable here, you can stay, or you can go a little bit deeper by wrapping the left heel around towards the right hip. And then come into a seat on both sits bones. So you want to be evenly between the two sits bones. So if you notice that your right hip is lifting up a bunch, go back to the gentler version of this posture with the left leg extended. Otherwise, you can stay. Inhale. And then exhale, reach the right arm around the back and hook the right knee with the left elbow. Taking a gentle twist, growing tall through the spine, broad through the chest. Reconnecting with the breath. Inhale, grow tall. Exhale, release to center. And then keeping the left heel around the back, or keeping the left foot out in front of you, drop the right knee down on top of the left knee. So if you've got your legs crossed, it'll look like this. If your leg's out in front of you, still drop the right knee towards the left. So with cow face legs here, just sink down onto those two sits bones. Find an easy seat. Roll your shoulders back. Maybe set your hands on your knees, just gently. And then turning your hands up in a posture of worship, release, or receiving. Continue to breathe. Release the hands down and carefully unravel the legs. Coming back into Dandasana, staff pose. Stack the left foot now, outside edge, around the side of the right leg, and then draw the right heel around to the opposite side, or keep the right leg straight. Roll your shoulders back, lengthen. Inhale. Exhale, reach the left hand around the back. Hook the left knee with the right elbow. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, grow tall. And breathe into this twist. As you breathe, just notice places where maybe you're holding tension. Just breathe to those places. And then twist to face front and stack your knees, left on top of the right. Coming to an easy seat between the legs, resting on both sits bones evenly. Place both hands on your knees and reconnect with your breath. Carefully unravel the legs. And then come down onto your back. Knees pointed up towards the sky. Soles of the feet flat on the floor. Lay your arms down beside you. And I'm going to turn sideways. Hopefully you can see. Palms down beside you. Back your heels up just a little bit and reach down and see if you can brush your heels with your fingertips. Spread your toes wide, palms pressing down. Slide your shoulder blades under your body. Press into your feet and start to roll your pelvis towards the ceiling, coming into a gentle bridge pose. Keeping a natural curve in the neck spine. And deeply breathing. Exhale to lower down one vertebra at a time. And then hugging your knees into your chest. Interlace your fingers and stack your palms on top of your knees. Rock side to side. Bringing your hands to your belly, extend your feet towards the ceiling. Finding length in the legs. Start to point and flex your toes. Shoulders are gentle. Chest is broad. Gaze is soft. Breath is constant. Flexing through the feet, reach the heels towards the ceiling. And then lower the knees down to the chest. Set your feet down. And then let your knees fall to the right. And then inhale through center to fall to the left. And then all the way back up. Fall to the right. All the way up. Fall to the left. All the way up. Bring the inside edges of the feet to touch, the knees to touch, and open your knees away from each other. Coming into ekapadakoundinyasana, a bound angle pose. And just rest. deepening your breath. Let your knees float to center. And then staying as you are, I'm going to turn back to the direction of my mat. Lengthen your legs out in front of you. Let your feet fall away from each other. Arms come down by your sides. Tuck your shoulder blades under, gliding them down along the two sides of your spine. Open your palms to face the ceiling. And just rest in Shavasana. And you can stay here as long as you like. While you rest in your final relaxation pose or corpse pose, I am going to just read again from Matthew, which I neglected to mark. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So you could not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Jesus, thank you for knowing. Thank you for knowing that my flesh is weak. I think you've obviously accepted it a lot better than I have. And I just pray, Lord, that you would let me feel my need for you. That you would let me surrender to that weakness that you know is there, to stop fighting against it, to just acknowledge that I need you, that I need your spirit. Holy Spirit, thank you for indwelling me. Thank you for speaking such comforting words to me through the words of the scriptures. Thank you for my friends, Lord, who practice yoga with me. Thank you for this weekend of remembering what you did for me, what you did for us. Lord, let me never be ashamed of the gospel, but God, knowing that my spirit is willing and my flesh is weak, continue to redeem that for me. I love you, Jesus, and I just thank you so much for this practice of yoga, for the opportunity, Lord, to move my body in truth. God, let your word sink deeper into our hearts. Let it sink all the way down into the core of who we are. Continue your good work of sanctification. And just speak to us this weekend. Show us your love and grace. All these things I ask in your name. And then acknowledging that we are all created in the image of a sovereign God. Acknowledging that my brothers and sisters and I all have you, Holy Spirit, indwelling us. That Jesus is the light of the world and he fills us. We bow together and we say, Namaste. Thank you, guys. I hope you have a really, really good night and an awesome Easter. Love y'all.